Before there was a company, there was a 5-year-old boy in a Swedish theater, watching a Norwegian stop-motion film about a bicycle repairman who builds his own race car.
Out of scrap parts and beats every professional team in the field.
It's a strange place for a hypercar empire to begin. But Christian von Koenigsegg never really left that theater.
Through his childhood, he was the kid who took apart the family toaster, the tape recorder, anything with moving parts, just to understand how it worked and whether he could make it better. By his teenage years, he was known locally as the best moped tuner in town. None of that explains what came next. He had no engineering degree. He'd never worked for a car manufacturer. He studied economics. Before the car company, there was a string of smaller ideas that went nowhere. At 19, he ran an import-export business, bringing frozen chicken from the United States into Estonia, just after the fall of the Iron Curtain, when ordinary goods were suddenly in demand. He tried inventing things, too. A device that could store an album's worth of music on a memory chip.
Years before anyone thought that was commercially realistic, and a flooring system that clicked together without glue or nails.
He made a decision with no safety net underneath it. He would build the car from the cartoon. Sweden had no supercar industry. Its automotive reputation was built on safety and durability, not top speed. There was no reason to believe an untrained economics graduate could out-engineer companies that had been doing this for generations. He started anyway, with roughly $200,000 of his own money and a small grant from Sweden's Technical Development Board. His father would go on to invest far more than that over the following years, quietly, in stages, without fully grasping at first just how much he was signing up for. The first running prototype came together in 1996, 2 years in. A year after that, Koenigsegg brought it to the Cannes Film Festival.
Wow, look at that!
It's finally here.
Absolutely stunning design.
Then came the hardest stretch. No customers, no revenue to dice. Just a small team, refining an idea most of the industry assumed would quietly disappear. A handful of people helped where they could. A former Electrolux executive agreed to chair the board. Engineers from Saab lent expertise on engine work. Volvo opened its test tracks and wind tunnels. But there was no shortcut through the core problem pives. Building a car that engineering-heavy manufacturers spend billions on, with almost none of that money. This one had no outside investors demanding results on a timeline, concise. Just one founder who wasn't interested in quitting. In 2002, to Tukos, 8 years after the company was founded, 6 years after the first prototype ran Defies,
the first production Koenigsegg reached a paying customer.
The CC8S, 646 horsepower, hand-built in a small Swedish workshop most of the automotive world had still never heard of. It didn't just run, it set a Guinness World Record as the most powerful production car in the world and picked up a Red Dot Design Award in the same year. only a handful were ever built. It didn't need to sell in volume. It needed to prove one thing, that the plan wasn't a fantasy. For the first time, it had a receipt. Then, almost immediately, it nearly lost everything. In February 2003, right as the company was finally being taken seriously, one of its production facilities caught fire. Tools, records, years of development work, badly damaged, some of it gone for good. For a manufacturer this size, a disaster like that isn't a setback.
It's often the end of the story completely.
It wasn't the end here. Later that same year, Koenigsegg moved into an abandoned military airfield outside the town of Ängelholm, Frols, a decommissioned Swedish Air Force base that had been home to a fighter squadron nicknamed the Ghost Squadron, known for missions flown so high and so early that people would hear the jets overhead, but never see them.
Koenigsegg took over one of the squadron's old hangars and converted it into a car factory. As a tribute to the pilots who'd flown there, the company adopted the squadron's ghost emblem
And placed it on every car built inside that hangar from that point on. The runway outside is still used for testing today. The company that nearly burned down now builds some of the fastest production cars ever made, inside a building that used to launch fighter jets. By 2009, Koenigsegg employed 45 people and built about 18 cars a year. That same year, it tried to buy Saab.
Backed in part by a Chinese automotive investor and a loan from the European Investment Bank.
Christian von Koenigsegg wanted to turn Saab into something almost nobody was seriously building yet at that scale, a genuine electric car manufacturer.
Then the financing terms tightened. The loan guarantee came with conditions Koenigsegg's team considered too rigid for a business that would inevitably need to change course along the way. With weeks left before a final deadline, Koenigsegg walked away from the deal on its own terms. Not because the vision failed, because the numbers didn't hold up, and he wasn't willing to bet the company he'd spent 15 years building on a plan he couldn't fully control. Koenigsegg went back to doing what it already knew how to do better than almost anyone.
In 2005, a Koenigsegg CCR hit just over 240 miles an hour at a test track in Nardò, Italy. In 2017, the Agera RS broke that record again, averaging just under 278 miles an hour across 2 runs.
One of the fastest independently verified production car speeds ever recorded.
Somewhere in that same workshop, in between those records, engineers spent months trying to perfect a special edition with a body made. That story has its own unresolved mystery, one we've covered in a separate video on this channel.
Koenigsegg didn't slow down after any of it. It built a production engine with no camshaft at all, called free valve.
It built a transmission with no conventional gearbox, called the light-speed transmission. Today, from that same hangar, the company builds the Jesko and the 4-seat 2300 horsepower Gemera. None of it happened the way a business plan would have predicted. A fire that should have ended the company outright. A deal with a mass manufacturer that came within weeks of closing, and didn't, because walking away was the harder, smarter choice. Somewhere in Ängelholm, Sweden, inside a hangar that once launched fighter jets, they still build cars under the same ghost emblem those pilots flew beneath. The 5-year-old who watched a bicycle repairman build an impossible race car in a Norwegian cartoon, hey, he's still building his. He just never stopped.